preparing live stream. YouTube takes its sweet time, but we are back. And I'm not going to get too ahead of myself because GP always hates it when I start jumping into things and I haven't done my tweets and my twats and my tits and my tats and all that. But we're
Hate's a
here.
strong word. Hate's a strong word.
You very much dislike.
We have to cater to our 17 people audience, right?
We can
So
get more people watching later though, GP.
yes.
It's all
All
right.
of it
It's all right.
though.
Watch live. I don't want to watch. Thank you, YouTube TV, but no, thank you. Okay. Your baby boys have been birthed and are ready, is the tweet.
You know,
Yes, Nick. What do I know?
sorry, I was going to look for your tweet to retweet it.
Oh, I'm typing it out right now.
Well, but when I look, some people's like replies are just so fucking unnecessary.
Dude, you don't have to tell me.
Yeah, totally. It's like I'm not trying to talk you into buying the stock, man. Like I'm just sharing some fucking ideas,
Sure you are.
sharing what the fuck I'm seeing.
Sure
Like,
you're.
why do you feel the need to attack me? Because I don't know. It just does. It just kind of blows my mind.
You are a representation of the company and the stock. You are the salesperson for the stock. If you weren't here to tell me to buy the stock, I wouldn't know about the stock. So you are responsible for my actions or inactions on what you like.
Apparently.
What do you think about that, Nick? There's a hot take for you.
Yeah.
All right. The tweets are out there. Stock Twits was acting funky. Twitter is a cesspool. We can get into that as always another time. But hi guys, we're here. GP, you were saying this market action, boy. Woo! So hot. You're fanning yourself over there. You're like, oh heavens forbid, it's so hot out here in this market, these streets. Right?
Is that I sound like Mrs. Doubtfire?
You can. I've
I
heard you.
can.
I've heard you.
Yes. Oh baby. Um oh, what can I say? We are where we were pretty much all year. Um there's not much to do, right? Nothing's really breaking down. It's just trading between these ranges. It seems like it's the same group of a pool of traders, so to speak. Top of the FOMC highs to the FOMC candle and back. And it continues and it continues and it continues and it continues. VIX keeps building here, which is really interesting to see. But my thought process here is we go flat for the rest of the month, which is going to be a long and annoying road for a lot of people. And then we get a decision move out of elections, right? And if there's nothing to worry about post elections, the unwind of the VIX is going to get this market going much higher. But until then, I don't think earnings is breaking us out. What earnings has broken us out this year? You let me know. Was it January? Was it April? Was it July?
I don't know.
Right. So I think elections are the only way we get new money to be put to work. And if the VIX is front running whatever is gonna potentially happen, and if it doesn't potentially happen, the unwind is that mother candle, right? That candle that gets us out of here and up and to the right.
Do you think
So
the market cares who wins, or do you think it just needs to pick a freaking winner and then so it can be done with it and move on?
It has not cared in 120 years, so no,
That's what
I
I
don't
like.
think
That's
it.
what I think too. Like,
Yeah.
I think, I think this is going to be like one of those like Y2K things where like everyone's so fucking up in arms about whoever they want to win. And then
Yeah.
it's just going to be a non-event. Then we can just like move on.
Dude, the more
For those
Elon
who
doubles,
weren't around during Y2K, that's the year 2000. Younger folks may not understand what us old asses are talking about, or Nick
Yeah.
was referring to, but computers use double digits for their year. No one knew that there could be a third digit or a fourth digit or soon a fifth digit in computer software. So they were worried when it went from 99 to 00. Please continue.
yes, and the worry was that it would reset every system back to the original, right? Versus being progressive and moving forward. And if you don't know what Y2K is, you should probably not be in this market or trading. History of trading or investing
A
is
24-year-old shouldn't be trading or investing.
no, you should know what it is what I'm saying, right?
Oh,
To understand the future, you have to understand where we came from. That's
fair
all I'm
enough.
saying.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So for you to not know what Y2K is, which is the craziest bubble that we've had ever, right? Like I know people call this a crazy bubble, but Y2K was literally on no profits, right? Like this is not that, and the conflation between the two is always fun to see. But yeah, so I don't think it matters in terms of the market. Market just needs certainty, and if it's an election, it's a landslide one way or the other. That would be even better for the markets. If it gives us the same crap we had in 2020, which is I won the popular vote, and no, I did not lose the election, and no, I did, like all that kind of crap that keeps going. Like you need a happy concession, like put America first type movements. Whoever wins, whoever loses, don't care really. It just needs to be decisive, and it needs to be and it needs to be set in stone. None of this, like I don't think we got election results certified that Sunday after elections, which is unheard of. And so even in 2020, the markets just kind of went blah blah blah, and then we had the mother candle on that Monday. Right. None of this, like I don't think we got election results. So I think that's what we're waiting for here, because if you were a new investor, say then you are a 24-year-old investor and you don't know what Y2K is, and you want to put, let's say you inherited $100,000 to put to work in the markets, and you have no clue what Y2K is because you're Ning Nong. But outside of that, what are you doing? Are you waiting until you see where the elections are, where the country is going? And so like I find it hilarious, these doom tweets by both sides, right? You have Elon Musk on one side saying saying the end of democracy, and I'm like, dude,
get me
we haven't
fired
had
up. Bring up his name. Get me fired up.
yeah, but then you also have Mark Cuban on the other side, right? Like who's like, can you both shut the fuck up and just let this work out the way it is and stuff like that. So I the end of democracy is a pretty big statement to make, and bold statement to make, based on one particular candidate. And I don't I don't think it's the end of democracy if it's Trump, and I don't think it's the end of democracy if it's Kamala or if it's Biden again, or I don't like how the elections are set up in general, but that's neither here nor
That's
there.
not what this podcast is.
No. We just need a decision, guys. Like we're trading the markets, we're investing in the markets. We need decision to move forward. And until we have decision to move forward, this is the same conversation I hope not. I hope we break out tomorrow and that's the end of this stuff. But
so either way, higher when the election is settled is what you're saying. That's the breakout.
Have you seen the price action since FOMC has literally just been a base building exercise above that FOMC candle in the Qs, in the SPY. Maybe it's distribution. It doesn't look like distribution. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it doesn't look like distribution to me. We've had multiple corrections in the last 2 months, 3 months, we lost 17% of the Qs in 3 days, right? Like or 4 days during the yen carry trade. So I think this is all base building exercise above the FOMC candle, and once we're ready to move higher, ready to move, it's going to be higher. That's the resolution I have.
I'm looking at the VIX chart here. I don't remember the last time I looked at the VIX. Nick, would you buy this chart right here? Like, forget it's the VIX.
Yeah, I'd buy it.
On a weekly. I mean, that looks, you just
yeah.
you just overtook the 200, right? You're above all moving averages. You've
I mean, it
got
looks like
stuff
that.
RSI and the stochastic. I don't know. I think as a trader, if I didn't know this was the VIX, I'd be like, that looks interesting.
Yeah, so
I could
agreed.
really see. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just saying agreed.
The Qs, so like again, like kind of just talking about us being range bound, like even if we do stay range bound for the next, like let's say 3 to 4 weeks and set up a really pretty trade, you'd get bears really excited because the Qs got kind of like an ascending wedge going. So if they did break lower and you saw the VIX spike, like I mean, again, as a longer term bull, I think it would set up even more charts and more.
But
I think
that's
it would
the
set
case
more up.
always, Nick. No, like all declines are great buying opportunities ultimately.
I'm just saying that
But
wedge playing out still plays into your idea that we're going to be range bound kind of through the elections because a lot of those wedges, at least from what I've kind of seen, end up turning out to be massive double bottoms.
yeah, double bottoms that don't actually break out. They just become double bottoms and do nothing. But yeah, I agree with that statement. The question that has been on a lot of people's minds is this a looming sign of something bigger to come, right? When the VIX is at what, it's up 20% today on literally nothing. So you have structural flow coming in to say we're preparing for some kind of Armageddon here, right? So to speak, we are at 22 last time I checked. Where's it at now?
22 and some change.
Yeah. And we're like 1% from all-time highs, guys. Right? Like this is not normal kind of behavior. So it's something to definitely watch and pay attention to. I just think if they're building into uncertainty and the uncertainty doesn't play out, it's a tailwind.
Randy, you are number one.
What does Randy think? When is Randy coming on?
Randy? Yeah, we need to schedule time with Randy. Speaking of scheduling time, Thursday we're going to have our quarterly cookie. You don't want to miss that. We'll be on around 11:30 Eastern time. We'll always tweet the twats, etc. So we'll let you know when it's live and on and popping and everything. And I bring up, I'm glad you brought up the VIX because Cookie always gives us something about the VIX. So that'll be interesting to hear his take. We haven't talked to him, and he's been completely absent from social media. So Randy's always a buyer. There you go. That's all you need to know. Randy, have you ever sold anything? You sold Victoria's Secret, I know that. So you're not always a buyer there, Randall.
I guess the thing is, if the VIX was pushing this high, why are chips so strong? Right? Like it doesn't really make a lot of sense. And then you have China that's still strong, which I get because there's stuff going on. And then the big kind of elephant in the room for me is Bitcoin can't get over 200
65.
SMA. Can't get over the daily 200 SMA. But then you have MicroStrategy going nuts, right? If you look at the weekly candle of MicroStrategy last week versus the weekly candle of Bitcoin last week.
Yeah. I can't help but
look at that weekly candle. Sorry, 1 second. Just look at that weekly candle. I'm not last week. It was a hammer, inside hammer, right? And on looks like an uptick in volume too, right? And then look at the Bitcoin weekly last week. It was
That one right there.
Yeah. So, like, when the hell has MicroStrategy ever led Bitcoin breakout, right? It just doesn't make any sense. My thought process is MicroStrategy is probably preparing for another offering, which is why they're running it up and how it's outperforming, and then they can beat it down as soon as the offering completes. But yeah, you have one of the craziest risk assets, Bitcoin, and it's not doing much. It hit the
Yeah,
200
it's
day.
just logging around here at 60K.
Yep.
You know, piece of shit.
It's just going through its technicals, right? Nothing higher. Nick, you were saying something
Buttcoin,
about
Nick, it's
Bitcoin?
Buttcoin, crypto until it's not.
I mean, I think the chart, like the weekly chart of Bitcoin, I think looks phenomenal. Especially zooming out. Like I see the massive cup and handle. I don't know. There's something that about it that just makes me like the amount of pump we're seeing in the news about, I don't know, this government, this firm, BlackRock, this Bitcoin, that end of the fucking world. Like it just has me thinking that like Bitcoin is not, we're not gearing up for a leg higher right now.
Hey,
Like
Nick,
what's
let,
that?
let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Would you like to have an asset flagging at all-time highs, or would you rather see a different setup? Because
I mean,
essentially that's what Bitcoin's doing.
it is. It is. I'm just saying, that's all. Yeah. I'm not,
No, I'm
when it
just
comes to
asking, like
Bit,
similar to I asked the VIX question, would you buy this chart? Would you rather have a chart flagging at an all-time high or not?
yes, I'd rather have a flag in all-time highs.
The question to
Yeah.
you is it a flag or is it a descending triangle?
I don't know.
It looks like a ascending channel to me is what I have, is kind of how I have it drawn.
Yeah.
Like
So
I'm not,
I like it technically. Everyone's
yeah.
waiting for the breakout, so no clue when it actually happens. But it looks great to me as well. It doesn't look like a descending channel to me or a triangle, especially when you have what's going on in MicroStrategy, which did look like a descending triangle, and then obliterated that in 3 days, right? So
If
it negated that.
okay, so riddle me this. If they decided to do away with taxing crypto uh transactions, why wouldn't everybody move their entire like the entirety of their net worth into some form of crypto?
It's not liquid. It's not. It's yeah. It's like the same reason not putting your entire net worth into gold or Tesla or anything else is. When you have down days, they hurt a lot more. But you also need liquidity, and you can't. The function of Bitcoin is how do you actually use it in the
Yeah,
real world?
I
Everyone's like, I see Bitcoin, I see it going higher. Why would I use my Bitcoin to buy anything?
sure.
Right.
Yeah,
So I'll let Ben answer because he's more of the crypto head. But I think there's also just a big subset of people who don't believe in crypto at all and think it's a bunch of hogwash, right?
So, one thing that I'm seeing more of, and you guys know I'm in a very rural part of the States, is people I'm seeing these Bitcoin machines, these ATMs essentially pop up like coin stars, right? And I ask a manager at a store, is like, is this getting a lot of use? And he says, yes, I'm actually having people come in quite often. I was like, well, it's quite often, like once a week, a couple times a month. And he's like, there's somebody in here every day. I was like, there's
Okay.
somebody in here every day transacting on your machine. Yeah. And he's like, most of these people are sending money to their family. And I was like, interesting. It was like, he's like, yeah, we don't even mess with Western Union anymore. Like people are sending the money to their family. So I mean, we've all known for a long time that, you know, it can be a very useful peer-to-peer payment
Yeah.
system, but the volatility has often scared people off, right? Like, I don't want to put $100 in and all of a sudden it be $67, you know, when the person takes it out, right? So
Yep.
that's always been a risk. It got me thinking, could this be more of a normalization of Bitcoin's pricing? That doesn't mean that there's not going to be some volatility. We know there's volatility in every financial instrument practically. Um, so it just got me thinking about maybe Bitcoin, as volatile as it has been, is it becoming mainstream to be that, you know, getting money to people? I don't know. I just thought where I live, that was a very interesting answer coming from the manager of the store that said machine is in, because I have never put any money in one of those machines, right? I've used a lot of different brokerages to get access to different cryptos in my life, and never once have I felt it important to go into an ATM or a convenience store or a grocery store or what have you, and put put money in a Bitcoin machine. So anyway, I don't know, Randy. Why not use Venmo? I don't know. I didn't go deeper into the guy or say, hey, can I set up an interview with the people who you're saying does this? But I feel like once a week's, I mean, that got more traffic, or once a day, that got more traffic than I expected that machine to. So I don't
I
know,
think
GB. I don't have a great answer for you right now.
yeah.
I just thought that was
The
an anecdotal experience that I'd recently had.
Yeah, and I think that normalization is also part of the flow, right? Like we don't have the same crazy moves in Bitcoin because you have institutional holders now, right? They're not
Yeah.
they're not retail holders and like, dude, I was up 5,000%. I don't want to be only up 1,000%. I'm out. Whereas institutional holders, they will do this smell. You look at this chart on your screen, this smells of I'm a bunch of assholes trying to shake you out and consolidate and stuff. Normalization is always good. I don't think it's actually personally a current like a currency. It's a store of value. It's the digital gold, as I would probably classify it more than
Yeah.
anything else.
Yeah.
And so it's the younger generation that's investing in this, and the older generation investing in gold. There's a cross generation that's investing in both. Um, yeah, but it's still classified as the number one risk assets in the market, and
No doubt.
it's essentially tracking the cues, right? Like cues have been pretty much sideways since February. Guess what Bitcoin has been? Pretty much sideways since February. And so if the number one risk assets is struggling with a daily 200-day moving average, then how do you think other things are going to behave, right? So other risk assets, probably similar outside of like one-offs. Like if you look at SRRK today, right? You're going to have the one-offs.
Nick, what do you think about that?
Explosion. SRRK. Yeah, I just added it to my list.
That's short arc.
It's a scholarly, it's a biotech. I think Bill
Oh,
Gates used
oh,
to
oh,
invest
it
in.
wasn't the short arc one.
Yes. No. It's up like 350% today. It's
SAA, what did you say, Nick?
SRRK.
SRRK.
Yeah.
Scholar Rock Holding. Whoa.
This is a original Bill Gates holding. I don't think he holds anything anymore in it, but yeah. What a crazy move, huh?
That is a huge amount of volume.
Yeah. So there will be one-offs for
Figures.
sure, and mostly in biotech, but the bags, what I will ask you is I am struggling, obviously frustrated at the complete break and link between Bitcoin, MicroStrategy, and coin itself.
You brought this up.
Yeah,
Uh,
but it's very distinct now versus, right? Like MicroStrategy is obviously really strong today, and coin is actually red, and Bitcoin's green, right? So, you have any further thoughts on what you think may be happening here?
I don't know. It comes back to what I was saying last week. Well, and your thought um, on MicroStrategies is interesting that they might be doing an offering. To me, it just smells of something might be funny with Coinbase. And
That's
this is not the same. I mean, you're in a downtrend here if you look at the past 6 months or 5 months. That's the daily time frame. But yeah, you've been sort of on this little fall off here. It's not the same structure, and it's not the same pattern, and it really hasn't been. I mean, here's the weekly coin chart, and I'll flash back to Bitcoin really quickly. I mean, once you get up here, it's broken, right? So once
Yeah,
you this
100%.
consolidation period, it's broken. I mean, you can get mad and say these are bigger than those, but for the most part, it's still the same structure. To me, it just seems like there's something up with the company as opposed to the asset, right? Like I'm just flashing back and forth to give a
Yeah.
semblance of structure.
This consolidation broke down. Bitcoin is still consolidating, and MicroStrategy consolidation is already starting to break out, right? So all the charts are now, the ones I've been tracking for quite some time are
Yep.
now are bifurcating, right? So like MicroStrategy is no longer even tracking Bitcoin.
Yep.
So yeah, it feels like something is wrong with this company. We just don't know yet. And then we get the
And
retest of 120, 115, 120.
and maybe there's nothing wrong. Maybe it's I mean, it can be a lot of different things. You know, I know a lot of institutions are using Coinbase to be the custodian of their Bitcoin holdings. But also maybe the market feels like there's weakness in Coinbase because people can buy the ETF now, and Coinbase is not your one-stop shop for crypto exposure. I don't really know.
Can you trade,
I think
can you
go
trade
ahead, Nick.
crypto through interactive brokers?
I think they have a select coins that you can get, but yeah, there's a lot of different brokerages that you can buy. Coinbase has just been sort of the gold standard for a multitude of tokens,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So maybe the market is seeing that the value isn't as high as it once was in Coinbase because there are so many options to have exposure in the space. That's a very fundamental look at it as opposed to what the chart is saying. But yeah, GP,
It,
I feel you. I don't have a great answer on why
yeah.
Coinbase is.
Well, the chart is fundamentally broken, right? It's rejected the weekly 50. It's below the 200, below the 50, below the 20. Like we can talk about all the reasons why not, but ultimately the technicals are telling you that this chart, if it all of a sudden breaks down harder here, is not a surprise, right? Like going to 115, 120 would not be out of the question here. A full retest, hold, and then go is possible.
I would totally be a buyer again at 115.
Yep,
Me
yep,
too.
I
yep.
mean, I would probably buy down to 100.
But there's so many people in that same boat
Yeah.
yeah, that's the thing. And things happen, but yeah, it's interesting, right? But you know, all you gotta do is look at Netflix and know where the market is going.
Oh my God, here we go.
I
Um,
had to bring it up, man. You saw what it did on Friday and then what it did this morning?
well, I've been doing a lot of research on other people's way they approach financial markets, and I'm forgetting the author's name, but his entry points is where he feels like natural stop loss orders are at, right? And 100 would be, I mean, people would be jumping out the window. if coin went to 100, right? They would want out of that so fast. It would be yelling fire in a burning building, right? Like people would be out of there. So I kind of feel like if that were to happen, it would be something to take advantage of. I don't personally see Coinbase going away. I'm not saying what their valuation is or isn't fair, and I'm not saying that there is or isn't something wrong with the company, but as we've noted, the chart no longer tracks the asset. Something's up. What is it? I don't know. It could be a massive shake, right? It could be we're getting people out because we want to load this, this company. I don't know. But I'm keeping an eye on it. It's something that at the right levels I would want to be interested in. We talk so much about, hard parts of this game, and I've mentioned numerous times, selling is the hardest part for me. Whether it's selling at a loss or selling for a profit, just getting rid of the asset is tough for me to do often. It's hard to time it. Also, it's really hard for people to want to step in front of the steamroller or the bus or the train coming at you. And if coin were to fall off, what is that? Better of 30%. There's going to be a lot of people that are saying that, yeah, I'd love to buy at 100, but they are going to be clutching their pearls and clenching their butt cheeks. And I'll wait for it to get cheaper. It's the miserable bear syndrome, right?
Yeah.
So, short story long, I don't know what the fuck's up with the chart. It is dislocated, but it's still something I'm interested in until I'm not. And I haven't heard anything for a reason to not be interested.
Yeah, I think those are all accurate statements, and I think there's not a single person watching this stock that thinks if 120 happened or 115 happened, they would be surprised. But like, yep, it makes sense. It's been weak for so long, right?
Yeah.
So it's flirting with that August 5th low, continues to flirt with that August 5th low, which looked like a lot of buyers stepped in on that August 5th low, but they're nowhere to be found. So
Nick, being our resident crypto hater, you don't own coin, right? If I didn't tell you what this company was, where would you look at buying it? Or would you I have no interest in this. It looks like absolute flaming dog poo in a dumpster fire.
No, I don't think it's a. No, I don't. I wouldn't go that far. I'd probably be a buyer at 115. And I would definitely be looking to add on the shake under 100. Probably right down. Let's see. I think mid 70. If it breaks 100, I think it sees mid 70s.
Yeah,
Um,
because that's the
only
next area of support.
my only concern would be is if it drops back into the 115 to like that 50 range, there's a high likelihood that it heads back down to the low end of that range and undertakes that low before heading back up, because this would kind of look like if we spike below 100, like it needs to rip quick, I guess, kind of where I'm going with that. Otherwise, I would be in the camp that it's heading back down towards like the 30s.
Yep. Yeah. So that's the thing, right? Every opportunity given to prove itself, it has shot itself over the last 8 weeks, I would say. Every opportunity where it seems like it's going to find a zone, it just says, nope, just kidding, right? Like that 160 area should have been pretty solid. And then we went to 147, right? So the 3 months starting December, February, January and February all kind of opened or closed around the 126 level. So if you are watching this chart and you are not in, that's another potential 126 to 128. That's another potential area that everyone waiting for 114, 120 does not get an opportunity because they step in around 126, 128. So the thing for me on this chart is that if you look at the monthly volume, it just isn't there from a distribution perspective. So this weakness does it technically doesn't make sense to me anymore, outside of it's just beyond it's just weak, right? So the less I participate now in this is better for my mental health, ultimately, right? So I think that's where it's at. And until it starts to show, it's not an outperformance day. Now it needs outperformance days, right? Or weeks or months, because now it's not now it's become a show me story and show me for more than a minute.
Righty-o. We haven't talked about
same thing with Amazon, right? Now Amazon's in the same, like, it's not just a coin conversation. Look at how many times Amazon has failed this area in the last 3 years. It is nuts. Like, it's down on what a downgrade of some absolutely dumb analyst conversations. But yeah, it's interesting.
Every dip is a buy.
Yes. So tell that to the guy who bought in June 2020.
You brought up your beauty Netflix there. We're not going to spend a lot of time at Netflix, but it's petering out up there at those all-time highs, as you've mentioned. But let's get into Tesla. Nick was very excited about Tesla this morning, and I just want to say, why, Nick?
I was just responding to meeting with Cookie on Thursday, which happens to be 10.
That
That
coincides. Gotcha.
I said earlier, I even had to mute Elon on my freaking Twitter because I'm like, dude, like I can't handle you.
It does no good. It does no good. I have muted him. He still invades your timeline because he owns the platform and he promotes himself over anything else. And it makes me sick. Like, sorry, I'm not going to get off on that tangent today. The chart, please, Nicholas. Is this a retest or is there something more going on? Or are we just in a holding pattern until the election?
Yes, come to my world.
Tesla is going to follow probably follow the cues. Like if the market direction here, if we do end up like rolling even interim, I would imagine Tesla does too, unless this 10-10 event ends up being massive. But if you don't have a current position on or have cushion, like I don't see the FOMO to get involved now when you have like this event on Thursday. Just wait it out, because you can either buy above 270 or buy versus 200. Like, don't get fucked around in the range.
Chart's still broken. Chart's still broken, right? This is another show me chart after 3 years. At every opportunity where it's had to outperform and push up and away, it has done the exact opposite. It's literally just done the exact opposite. It's like, oh, look, it's a breakout, blah. Literally the next day has a 9% down day, right? Like, it's literally, it's a show me story at this point. And until it shows you, there's no reason front running this. Right, you'll pay if you're doing options trading, you'll pay more for options, but if it's starting its momentum, it won't matter. So I think the IV is somewhere around 75. At its heyday, IV gets to 200 and plus. So it won't matter. So you front running right now is them just collecting the shit out of your premiums.
For sure. Set your like anything, set your alerts and leave it alone. Go find something else that's actually going to make you money.
There's not much that isn't in the show me patterns. Show me that you're actually going to break out. Netflix, show me that you're actually going to mean anything, right? Tesla, Coinbase, Meta. Look at Meta. Looks so strong, and then they just keep beating it. It's just like it's still above all-time highs and it's still doing pretty well. But when you take out it, I think maybe my expectations are too 2020 related or 2018, 2019 related, free money related. But when you have a 8-month consolidation in a stock at all-time highs, the breakout isn't 3%, right? Isn't 5%. The breakout's the size of the consolidation, and that consolidation for Meta is it tagged 399, right? All the way up to 540. So this should be $140-$150 move from that 540 level. And it may still happen, but it's the slowest kind of breakout. It's not the momentum breakout that you're used to seeing.
I'm just replying to Dennis on our take on Baba. Tipper says buy everything China. So there you go.
Yes, and I don't think he's wrong. I think you just have to find your points in time on Baba.
Yep.
It's going to shake the best of them.
Bihanu wants to know about TLT. We haven't talked about TLT in a hot minute. It's been a long time since we talked about TLT.
So this, to me, this is the only part of the market that has front run anything in the last 6 months. Bonds, TLT front ran the FOMC rate cuts, and then have been underperforming since.
I mean, it's at least been, I don't know, several months since I looked at this chart because it needs some updating.
Yeah. So this is like if you look at the 10-year notes, the 30-year notes, you look at the 2-year notes, 5-year notes, look at TLT, junk, all of these front ran themselves into the FOMC decision, and what everyone thought was going to happen to 10-year rates was they're going to go down further, but they instead went higher, which if you look at the 10-year rates, it was 3.8, 3.7, and your Fed funds rate were sitting at 5.5. And so they cut a half point. Fed funds rate are still sitting at 5, yet the 10 years at 3.7. So natural that the mean reversion of the 10-year goes higher.
Nick, do you
So
look at
I think it's the only part of the market that actually front ran the rate cuts.
No.
IWM did not. Small caps definitely did not.
you just ignore bonds totally, Nick?
Yeah, I don't pay attention to them. I mean, I would look at the TLT, but I wouldn't be making any like trade or
Life
investments.
altering experiences. You wouldn't be doing that.
No.
Okay.
I was gonna ask you about the XLE.
XLE?
Yeah,
We can
I
look
mean,
at
like
XLE.
XOM went on a tear, along with a bunch of other energy names. Have you changed your guys whatsoever, or are you guys still just kind of steer clear of energy names, commodity stuff?
Maybe one day I will grow the intestinal fortitude to take back the energy space, but I currently have no energy. But Nick, when I do, I promise you one thing. I will let you know that I got me some gush. As a throwback, Randy probably remembers, nobody else does.
I do. I was there for that.
Did I
was
caught
there.
tick. When was that?
2022.
I would say it was right around here. I think
at least it was.
tick that.
Yeah. You know what? Hey, even if I'm your contrarian indicator, I still made you money.
No, I'm not mad about it, Nick. I'm not throwing that in your face at all. I wouldn't do that. I mean, if you bought right here, you're practically even 2 years later, 2.5 years later. So hey, it's all good in the hood.
I posted a chart about XLE, Nick, over the weekend. I see it as a bull motion and a bear chart.
Okay.
And so that's kind of just how I see it, right? Like,
Say
so
that again, bull motion in a bear chart.
correct. It's a mean reversion bull move in a overall bear chart, right? So it had a great week, it had volume, still can't take out all-time highs, and XOM did take out all-time highs, which is a big part of XLE.
Yeah.
which means the selling in a lot of the other names was probably pretty high. If your number one holding in XLE is breaking out of all-time highs, but the actual index can't, right? But overall, I'm not even talking about that kind of stuff. I think the chart's just bearish ultimately. All this power, all this stuff can't take out all-time highs from 2008. Can't even like sniff them, right? Like it's not even trying to be coy about it. So until that breaks, I don't change my opinion. So I want to see.
Even on an individual name like Exxon, did you mention another name, Nick, or just Exxon was the one you were looking at?
I mean, yeah, XOM was just the one that I was looking at, but the prettiest space I thought was, or at least as of recently, was LNG.
LNG.
I know, but while you're looking at that one, look at Oxy. It's testing the underside base of a distribution breakdown here, right? Like look at CVX, it's also breaking down. Look at
Buffett.
Yes. Look at BP,
So
right? All these things have been making higher lows for the better part of the last 25 years, right? So I hear you. You want to be bullish energy? Show me the fucking chart, right? Ultimately, show me a chart outside of XOM that's taking out all-time highs. Maybe FANG is, right? Because Diamondback has been up there with yeah, so FANG is, but Oxy is not. CVX is not, and CVX introduced the biggest buyback known to man ever, and it has not seen a bullish upside movement really, except for some small mean reversions. So I need to see it across the board. I don't see it across the board, so I stand in the I rather not even invest in this, but also I think it's a short.
Randy gave us a little dime here. Nuke. Oh, what's the letters there, Randy? Nuke isn't a.
Yeah, look at Schlumberger. Also look at OIH, Nick.
Yeah, I don't like OIH.
Yep. So the sum of the masses to me says avoid this like the plague. And that's where I'm at. I don't have a short position of any short. I don't have a position of anything.
What was it about a year ago that we were talking about OIH? Does that ring a bell?
Yes, OIH was going to
Right.
outperform.
Were we talking about OIH? I mean, OIH looks like it's rolling to me. I mean, you can kind of reminds me of that Oxy chart a little bit, except it's more of a rounded pattern.
But look at COP as well, right? ConocoPhillips. It came back to it had the thrust higher in 2022 to 136. It tried to come back and go take out that 136 level and it got sold off, right? And now it's back to that 115 area, which is essentially the kind of the mid box of this range that it has rejected a bunch of times. MRO, kind of the same thing. EOG, I think is slightly better, if I remember correctly. No, MRO is slightly better too.
What was the last one you just said there?
EOG.
EOG.
Yeah, EOG is better for sure. So, but EOG, Diamondback Energy, which is FANG, and XOM tend to be the leaders of that space. Nick, but like to me, it's just it's such a frustrating thing because every time you look at the chart and you think it's bearish, it has this mother candle that makes you think it's going to be a bullish, and then as soon as you have a bullish candle, it then has a destruction candle, and you're like, you know what? I'm just commodities can go stuff it. I got enough problems with Netflix.
Nick, so what do you like about it, Nick? You were the one who brought it up. What do you like about it?
I just like some of the individual names. Like I liked I mean, aesthetically, I think the chart looks great. Like on the weekly, especially. I understand. I understand the point though, as far as like, distribution, but in just literally looking at that, that looks like a nice base to me. I'm the first one to say too, like I think it's the most frustrating fucking sector to trade. So I have XOM and I have whatchamacallit.
I mean, I would
LNGN.
rather stock some money in Pfizer at that divvy than try to play around with the
Sure.
energy sector, which I've quite frankly got handed to me. There was some news today on Pfizer. Speaking of, someone's coming on to buy a whole bunch of stock. Who was that? Did you see that today? Am I making this up?
I did not. I am not paying attention to Pfizer at all.
Hang on. I'll find it. Somebody's coming on as an activist, which usually at some point winds up okay for the stock.
Yeah, but I find it to be kind of crazy to have a stock of this size to have an activist at all. It's just all show and pony roadshow. Yeah, $1 billion activist stake. Dude, isn't Pfizer like a $500 billion company? No, 165.
Starboard, that is.
The usuals, right?
Yeah.
And on that pop, they're probably selling to you.
Well, I mean, it's been sold down all day since the announcement, right? So,
Yeah.
there you go. I don't know, just interesting stuff. I like to talk about interesting stuff.
I think if you're going to put your money anywhere, put it in MicroStrategy.
So you can get hit with an offering?
Yup.
Come on.
Sorry, when you have this level of strength, whenever other things are not having that level of strength, it's usually an offering or something that's coming. It's
So
like
just get some long dated puts, right?
no man, they pump up the IV so much on this name that you just, if anything, you short the shares.
All right.
They're not expensive anymore, right? That 10-to-1 split. So
All right.
you can short 100 shares and still make like, I don't know, if it has a offering and it drops like $10, you can still make $1,000, right? So
Great.
All
I
right.
picked VR, or did I pick VST?
VST or BST?
Yeah, which one did I pick? I don't remember.
Oh, what you picked? You picked the VRT.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
yo, how's our battle going? Snow versus W.
Well, snow is exactly where it was.
Okay.
It dipped down to like 110. Well, let's just pull them up here. Where's them stock picks at? We can get rid of these because they are no longer applicable. So
I don't want to see my failures anymore.
you chose W, right?
I did.
You went with oldie but goodie, and Nick went with RT, and I did the spiked reverse jinx on snow. So
There you go, Nick. He took the ultimate contrary at me.
I did. And I should have bought it. It went below 110, and I didn't buy it because I was out doing things with the kids, and I didn't take the time to do it. So we're basically right back where we were, $1 less on snow. VRT was 99.49. Nick's had a nice little pump, and Wayfair was 56.18. So you got 10 cents to the good, GP. Congratulations. I'm the only one slightly underwater. But Nick,
looks right.
Nick.
Yeah.
I mean, geez, man. You're already up. What is that? 7% nearly? Get out of town.
Yo, this is semiconductor, right?
Yeah, 7%.
It's a smart, if this consolidation resolves to the upside, it's a smart play for this quarter. Right, VRT and NVIDIA. So
get out of here. That's not a biotech, man.
No, biotech's up 300%.
Speaking of, let's look at the old biotech. I haven't.
Don't bother. It is worse than looking at the Qs. It's literally gone nowhere in 2 years.
Could this be a retest of the breakout of the range?
Nope.
Nope, it is the range.
It is none of that stuff. There's no breakout. There's no. It's just this. This is all we get. We are not getting anything else in life. This is what XBI will give you: a beautiful 96 buy and a beautiful 101 sell for the rest of your life.
Duzio. Has anybody checked in on our friend Duzio?
He's still very bullish until he's not.
Well,
Oh my,
I mean,
yeah.
we're all bullish until we're not, right? I'm gonna say, I'm gonna add him right now.
Dude, it's not doing anything.
Duzio.
Ultimately, nothing is doing anything until elections.
Get any insight on XBI? He's the one thing I'm trolling.
No, just like we're discussing on the pod. Would love your insight. Jason,
can you give me any insights? Thank you.
Jason, it's not. See, I know you called me a wet blanket a couple of weeks ago, but it's not just XBI. It's literally half the market that's just stuck.
Wet blanket GP.
Yo, XBI, KRE, IWM, Netflix, Amazon has literally been at this price since 2020. Like, I'm not even talking about stuck 3 months here. I'm talking about being just stuck. Google's been stuck. Isn't Microsoft breaking below the 200 day now? So this is the chart that actually concerns me the most.
Yeah, same.
Did Satya sell more?
This is the third attempt at the rising 50-week moving average, which is always a shady attempt, right?
Yes, it is below 200 day.
Yeah, so this is the chart that concerns me the most, right?
It has been there before, though.
Yeah, but it's the third time. Third times don't hold.
Oh goodness.
Let's buy 350.
Oh goodness.
Buy Microsoft
So if
350.
Yeah, it looks exactly like the 2022 chart if you look at it. Scroll it back, Ben.
The 2022 chart.
Yep. Right before everything topped out in January.
Yeah, totally. 2021, you mean?
No, end of yeah, I guess it finally broke down in 2022.
Yeah, it looks like
the end of the year 21 into 22.
Yeah. So this is the only chart that I have on my radar in terms of holy crap. This is one that people should be worried about. The VIX is one that we should be worried about, right?
I'm looking at the weekly. Let me look at the weekly. I mean,
dude, it's the same. Look at the orange line. Third attempt smoked.
All right, whatever.
And so it goes back to that 200-week moving average, which is not your 350 level, and that gets your 310, 315 level.
This is the second attempt on the orange line, and at this point in time.
No, it's the third. The first one got bought up on August 5th.
Oh, yeah,
got bought up. Yeah, which you would expect. The first test of the rising weekly. Second was the retest, and the retest bounced, which you would have expected, but the bounce didn't produce a bigger move higher. And now it's breaking the other direction, which goes back to what we were talking about earlier, is like when you expect things to do things to the upside, to the bullish side, and they don't, and they do the opposite, then it's probably something to pay attention to here. And this is, if this breaks down, it's going to that 312 area. I don't know when or where. I would assume on earnings, but it is. So is Microsoft a sole patient zero, or is he going to be part of the pandemic?
I had to tell Jason to don't feed the troll. I'm just kidding, GP. I love you.
You know what?
Wet blanket.
No more. No more. I will just sit here in silence.
Maybe Nick could get a word in edgewise then.
Never.
Well, no, I mean, even if we do get the action for the active trader, like I think it's great action. Get off, like, I mean, again, if you're an active guy, you're gonna have to get off your long-term long bias because we're getting moves in both directions.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that's just what I mean. Again, that's what like a sideways chop market gives us is the back and forth, unfortunately.
Yeah, but typically you don't see in sideways chop markets, you don't see what Microsoft is doing here, right? You don't see the leaders of the space on the verge of breaking down.
Well, I don't know. Like the way I'm looking at 2022 is such a massive reset. Like I'm not comparing 2022 to like '08 or 2000 or anything like that, but in the psychologically though, I think I am that I think 2022 was such a freaking reset that I think we're still sifting and sorting through who's going to take the mega cap, who's going to take their place, or who's going to lead this market in like a growth way.
We're still resetting, if you will.
Like I think we're still figuring it out, and like that's just kind of I don't know. I'd
Snow is
almost
going to do it. Snow is going to be mega cap. All those millions of share flows is going to come straight in to Snow. This is not financial advice.
And so could just another anecdotal conversation, right? In this thing is I think it was like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, Ben, you were like, yep, whenever I get into this wet blanket kind of mood, it's the signs of the bottom. And that's 3 weeks ago. That's 3 weeks ago. And the market has not bottomed, right? It's just it keeps testing the FOMC candle. So when my frustration or my wet blanketness usually ends up resolving to the upside, and it hasn't so far, it's probably something to pay attention to.
yeah,
Like in seriousness, right? Like
be
that's
defensive. Manage
yeah.
your risk.
I look at the VIX, right? Ultimately, that's your biggest defensive weapon here, which is VIX is outperforming every asset in the last couple of months. And on not like a crazy amount of like, yes, there's some missile heads and some rate cuts and stuff like that. So I think VIX is something you have to worry about. Microsoft being the second largest company in the stock market on the verge of breaking down is probably something you need to pay attention to. But I'm also in the camp that not all fangs go up together, right? There's finite money flow there, so it's possible that Microsoft is just independent of everything else while Apple takes the reins for a little bit.
Well, I mean, I sound like a broken record rehashing things that we brought up on the pod, right? But I mean, it's rare that all the megas are ripping at the same time. They can be going up at the same time, but it's usually three or four of them are doing great, and the other there's kind of just treading water, right? They kind of have their own cycle in between each other, and maybe this is Microsoft's turning a down cycle. I mean, when you look at this chart, I mean, it has been red fucking hot for 2 years.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not
I mean,
arguing
it's
that.
not
I think
it's
it's
not
just
Nvidia hot, but I mean, it's pretty freaking hot.
I think it's just concerns that you should be aware of, right? Or at least that I'm aware of, which is that this could mean more or it could mean that it's isolated. We don't know yet. But if you start adding up the pieces, right? If the puzzle pieces, let's say 100-piece puzzle, and 98 pieces are there, you're only missing two pieces, then the puzzle is gonna finish out to the side that you want it to. But in this case, we have a 10 puzzle piece, and three puzzle pieces are fitting together at this point. And if other ones start to fit together, you need to raise that red flag, and you need to start raising cash and start moving to the side, right?
You got it.
So because I think the VIX is just what I'm probably the most concerned on, because it just refuses to die. And I hope it's just structural flow for election stuff, but you never know.
Guys,
I mean,
I gotta run. It's football Monday. We got a
All
game.
right, let's
Go
go do it.
Vikings! Go Vikings!
Go
We've had
Vikings.
3 touchdowns in 2 games. We're on a streak here. Pee Wee flag football's where it's at.
Don't forget about that pancake block.
Yeah, man. We're out here laying the wood to kids, ages 4 and under. All right.
All right.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. I will talk to you Thursday. See you Thursday.
Yes. Next week I will be silent for all you guys.
Oh, come on.
Looking forward to it.
Yes. I'll leave the. You'll get some giggles. No more wet blanket.